Should you use an FHA mortgage? What's it all about? And is it a good thing for you? This is Ron Wysocarski with Wise Home Team Realty, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about FHA mortgages. These are backed by the federal government, and it's a super low down payment of only 3.5% of the purchase price. So if you think about a $200,000 home, it's just a $7,000 down payment, which in many cases is affordable for most families. So at that 3.5% down, this allows you more opportunity in today's market to actually get into your home. And a lot of times, this is kind of known as a first-time home buyer program. What they mean is it's low down payments. A lot of people do use it, so it will get blended into being called a first-time home buyer, but it's not actually a requirement to be a first-time home buyer. Anybody can use it as long as you only have one at a time. You can't have a second one. You can't keep buying them FHA, although that would be nice. So the first thing is low down payment. The next thing is there's eligibility for help with the closing costs. And it gets up there. I mean, at 3.5% down, you can get up to 6%. And I don't believe that there's many situations where you can actually use the whole 6%. And a lot of people end up working with about 3%. And it scales in different directions based on the down payment. But on a $200,000 property, that's $12,000 work with closing costs. And I don't think it would take a lot to get to there. Usually around 3% will get the job done, but it's possible. So you can absolutely get credit from the seller for your closing costs, and you can have a super low down payment. You know, there are a number of banks that have overlays right now, but typically there's not a minimum credit score. I've seen them go down to 580, 600. I do know there's some overlays right now that are pushing 680 and above on the FHA mortgages. But I gotta think, if you've got reasonable credit and a stable job, we can find you one, and you can definitely reach out and let us know if you're in the market for something like that, and we'll help you find the right lender. Now, a couple of things that you want to pay attention to on the FHA mortgage is that if you do use the strategy of seller helping you pay the closing costs, it has to appraise for the higher amount. So if you were buying at $250 and they were going to give you 3% of $7,500, let's say, it's a net of $242,500. But it has to appraise at the $250 mark. So number one, appraisal has to come in, and if you're selling within a year or two, that gift of the closing costs at closing, when you sell it, you're gonna have to have some appreciation of the home, either through just natural appreciation because the market's going up, or that you've done some work to the house to make it more valuable. This way we don't have in a situation where you have to bring money to closing down the road. So I think that's really one of the big things we want to talk about is FHA. Is just that. The credit does affect down the road when you go to sell the property. Now, there's another thing called the nickname is the Termite Report. It's a WDO, Wood Destroying Organism Report. So a couple things with that. If there's active termites, you may need to have a treatment in the house. It could be wood rot, which could be from water damage or termite damage. That may have to be fixed or replaced. And that's typically done during the inspection period, so you'll know in advance getting that piece done. So home inspection, termite report, those go hand in hand. You know if you're going to take the next step, because the next step, well, that's going to be the FHA appraisal. They're going to look at things like the plumbing, the heating system, the electrical system, the roof system. Similar to a 4-point inspection, they're going to look at those a little more stringently than perhaps a conventional loan. And those are going to have to check out as well. So if you know the property has an issue with any of those things, you may want to pre-negotiate or pre-discuss that to make sure the seller's on board with it. I mean, the worst thing would be it needs a brand new roof and the seller's not ready to put $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 into that roof. You can have a deal where you've invested time and energy into the inspections, the WDO report, and if you've done the appraisal, you might be in for $1,000 or so. And if the seller's not willing to repair those items necessary to get the FHA approval, you might better have not spent that money. So it's going to take a little extra due diligence on the beginning to examine the seller's report and really get a good look at that property. Worst case, you hire an inspector and it doesn't quite check out and you can't resolve to it. At least you haven't spent the $400 or $500 on the appraisal. So you're just out the inspection. And sometimes it happens. So, those are definitely a couple of things that you want to watch out for when using, an FHA mortgage. But long story short, super low down payment. You get help from the seller for for the closing costs. It's a great way to go for someone who is a little short on cash, or maybe is a first-time home buyer and looking for it. So I think that's what I would offer to you today. Oh, the bonus round, on an FHA loan, there's private mortgage insurance, and it's for life. So when you use FHA, the kicker is you used to be able to get it forgiven, but now it's for life on those loans. So a conventional loan could also be an option for you, but that's going to require a 5% down payment. But when you get down to below 80% of equity in a house, then you can get rid of the PMI. So that's about the one big drawback on the FHA is it's PMI for life. But a lot of people have refinanced out of it, and not everybody stays for 30 years. You may find that you actually move on to the next property and move up as a move-up buyer before it ever really has much of an effect. It certainly wouldn't stop me. If the goal was home ownership, I wouldn't let the PMI get in the way. I just wouldn't. If you've got questions about FHA mortgages or how to purchase one of those, we'd love to help with that. Drop a comment below, let us know what you think. Definitely subscribe, and we'll look forward to helping you out. This is Ron Wysocarski with Wise Home Team Realty.